boys? Welcome back for another episode of Condition Video, what to look for the best example for your collection. Today I will be going through figures 22 through 32, that is wave 1 of The Empire Strikes Back plus Yoda. It's easier to break it down like this. The next video I'll do 33 through 48, I'll finish up the Empire run, and it's just better to cut it into two and not make one long video. So, first one that I will start off with is FX7. Now, he has a variant. He has a red eye and an orange eye. I don't think anyone really cares about that variant at all, but if the label says it's a variant, I will buy it. So, going through with him, you want to check his arm. You always want to make sure that it's straight. Sometimes you see them and they're all bent. It looks like a shark bit into it. So check the arm. Check his white tentacles or legs or arms, whatever you want to call these things. Make sure that they're nice and solid white. Make sure that they're still, inside of his body. Sometimes kids, I think when they were younger, they pulled them out and pushing them back in and they're all bent and stuff. So you always want to check for that. Also, his head does spin, just like, R2 and R5. Just make sure it's not wobbly. So the head seems to get loose a lot also. So the black paint that goes across his head and on his body, just make sure that that's solid. He's not a hard figure to get at all. He's about maybe 12, 15 bucks for a nice example. So he should be an easy one if you are looking for one. Next is Bosk. Bosk is a very hard figure to get. He's still 25 to 30 bucks, but he's still hard to find in a very nice condition. So you always want to check the white. Check the white vest in the front here, and check the white in the back here. They always get rubs. It's kind of like the Luke X-Wing figure, how he has the white that comes down here. You just want to make sure that it's solid and complete. And you want to make sure that it's solid and complete in the front. You will always find it rubbed out. That's always been a problem with him. So that's why he's another figure that's getting very hard to get. And he does get some discoloration, I believe, on his arms, and you want to check his feet for some rubs. So he's another figure that I've been buying, just keeping for myself, keeping for my kids, nice examples of that I will be sending into CAS to get graded. But I believe he should be a little bit more money than what he is right now. White Bespin Guard. Always, always, always check the gold that goes down on his front vest. You want to make sure that it's solid and complete all the way through. And don't forget that the gold does go in the back. It goes around in a circle in the back of his neck and a circle in the back here on his waist. So sometimes you'll always find it and the gold is rubbed out. Just make sure that it's complete all the way around and that it goes all the way up and down and that these little emblems here are filled in properly. A lot of the times you'll see them and the gold is just terrible. And for him, he always gets hand rubs. So always check his hands, knuckles. Seems to always get a lot of rubs. And just make sure that his facial paint is applied properly. That will probably be more of a factory issue. But there's always issues with the mustache where it's not completely done all the way and it's always missing gaps and stuff, so always check for that. Next is Lando Bespin. He has a variant also, teeth and no teeth. No one really cares about him, so I'm just gonna go through the one. Check his cape, make sure it's not discolored. Always check the cape for marks, front and back. For him, number one thing always is hand rubs. He gets a lot of hand rubs also. So always check the hands of a Lando. Make sure that they're nice and solid. Make sure that they're good. Again, he's not a hard figure to find. You can probably find a nice mint example around the $20 mark. So another one that's very easy to find out there. And that's what you should look for him. Han Hoth. He is a underrated figure also. He always has paint rubs. For him, mainly, you want to check his gloves, check his knuckles. That's where it always seems to happen, is the paint rubs in his hands. Always check his buckle. Make sure that it's solid. You want to check his glasses and his hat. Just want to make sure there's no paint rubs. That's the number one issue with him. So he's very easy to spot. He's about 30 bucks. So that's the number one area you want to look for him. Hoff Snow Trooper. Finding a nice white example, as we all know, with most white figures, are just getting harder and harder to find. So you want to make sure that he is solid white. Make sure that the torso matches his arms and legs. That's usually what discolors. Make sure that his cape is nice and solid and that there's no markings on it. You want to check the black that's painted in, the little paint markings on his vest. Just make sure that those are applied properly. And then his visor has a couple of different variants, and I have them here, but one's a univisor and one's a regular eye, nothing really of importance. But for him, it's discoloration, so just make sure that you check him over and that he's nice and white. This one got graded an 85 plus, as you can see, because he's very nice and solid. Another figure is IG-88. He's not a hard figure to find. I would say loose limbs is the number one for him. Arms and legs. Just want to make sure that everything is proper on him. Make sure it's all nice and tight with his head. Again, not a hard figure to find. He's about 30 to 35 bucks. You can check his little bandolier strap. Just make sure that it's solid black. I have seen examples where it's rubbed out, but easy figure to find. Shouldn't have a problem with him. Rebel Soldier. Always check for paint rubs. That seems to be the number one thing with him also, is always paint rubs. You want to check his gloves, check his arms, check his hat and his boots. The usual common areas. Just make sure that his buckle is black and it goes all the way around. Make sure it's solid front and back. He's about a $15 to $20 figure, but again, he's not hard to find. Leia Bespin. Now she has a turtleneck and a crew neck. So I'm just gonna go over the one because they're pretty much the same. First thing you always want to check for is her gold. Now, either her gold is rubbed out up top, or it turns like a green. For whatever reason, when the gold goes bad, it turns like a greenish color, and it looks actually nice and solid. Most people don't know, but I don't know if I can get it on camera, but whenever you buy a Leia Bespin, that's the best shot right there. Always open up her cape, and you want to look in the sides here. There's supposed to be a gold line going up on both sides on the inside. So when someone's listing a Leia Bespin, always open it up and check, because a lot of the times the gold on the inside is rubbed out. It's not there. So you want to check her cape. Just make sure there's no rips or tears. Make sure it's all in good condition. You want to check her hands, the hand rubs. She's becoming a more expensive figure. I want to say she's about 75 bucks, maybe $80 if you find a nice mint example. This one I believe I paid 80 bucks for, but it was well worth it because she got graded a 90 plus, which is unheard of for her. Very hard to get that grade in this figure. So check for rubs on her head also. And again, number one, just check the gold. So next figure, we got two more to go, is Luke Bespin. Now here are all my versions. I have a blonde, a brown, an orange, and an olive hair. And to just go through regular two of them right here, the number one issue with him is discoloration. This figure always discolors. This figure can be literally on a mock, still sealed. But if you always check the subgrades, he always seems to score an 80 as a subgrade figure. And I have two examples here that I will show you. Whether it's either an 80 or a 75, but he is most known to discolor. He is a very hard figure to find, solid with no discoloration. That's not even joking around. You find one that's not discolored and he's nice, pick it up and get it. You want to just make sure that the paint is applied properly to his belt. and to all of his little accessories here hanging. Just make sure that that's all solid. Always check the eyebrows on him. Check the hair for paint rubs. But again, discoloration is the #1 thing with him. Finding good examples that are not discolored is getting very hard. And if finding an actual 85 grade, I think they're over $300 now. Maybe even $350, I believe. So, and to be honest with you, it's well worth it because you just don't see that many out there. So, here are my mock examples of Luke Bespin. So to start off, this is Luke Bespin, his 31 back, his debut card. And it's a beautiful card, everything is mint. But as you can see, his figure score was an 80. So people automatically assume that, hey, since it's still sealed up in the card, he should automatically get an 85 and higher. Not true. Most of the time, he's usually an 80 or a 75. So even if you're buying a mock, check for the discoloration on Luke and make sure that when it was graded, it's up to date. Because if the figure score is an 85, or even if it's an 80, but he looks really discolored, might mean that the date was, he was graded a long time ago. So always keep up with that. So you always want to check for discoloration on him. My other example is the Jedi 77 back of him with the brown hair. And again, his figure score was an 80. He's still sealed. The card is absolutely perfect, but he got an 80 because he is discolored a little bit. It just goes to show you that no matter what, this figure is still a hard one to get because you always find them discolored. So that's Luke Bespin. Last one is Yoda. He has a couple of variants. I know everyone goes by the colors and the cherry eyes or whatever. I'm just gonna go by the main one. Main one is brown snake, orange snake, and then there's an orange snake that has a made in Hong Kong tag on the inside. So you'll see inside the cape, there's a tag that says made in Hong Kong. So just going over one of the Yodas, you want to go over his cape. Just make sure that his cape is in good condition. Check the belt, make sure his belt is good. I'm sorry, I'm calling it cape. It's actually a cloak. Cloak. You want to make sure that his cloak is nice and there's no holes or slits on it. Check his belt, check the snake. For him, for Yoda, the #1 thing is you always want to check his hands. So always check Yoda's hands. He always has rubs on his hands and his knuckles. Seems to be the problem on a lot of Empire figures actually. So just check for rubs, check for his feet also, and check for discoloration because he does discolor also. Not as much, but you'll see it on his limbs only, hands and his feet. So you want to check for that too. But finding a nice example of him is not hard, but he is expensive because of all of his accessories. So he will still cost you, you know, 75, 80 bucks. But that's the end of going through 22 to 32. The next video I will be doing, like I said, 33 to 48. And if you haven't checked out part 1 and 2, those were of Star Wars 1 through 21. And if anyone has any questions or anything to even add to this video, just reach out and let me know. I hope you guys all like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Thank you.